Hi Queens, welcome to the channel. Sam here. In today's video, I want to share with you the worst money advice I have gotten. And I want to share that with you, I think because I feel like so many people have gotten the same bad advice, or that some people they just don't know, and that's what they are doing, and that is not helping them building wealth. So, many years ago, when I came to Canada as an international student, I did not know much about personal finances. Like, I had had a bank account before, so I knew about a bank account and debit card. I knew about that, but I had no clue about like investments or like credit or mortgages or all of those things that are really essential when it comes to building wealth. I did not know about those, and I was really relying on people at the bank to help me for like for any question I might have at the time. And back in the days, there was nothing as like online bill payment. So if you wanted to make our bill payment, like your hydro, your phone bill, or like your gas bill, you had to either send a check to the company with the invoice slip, or you had to go into the bank at the bank machine to, with the invoice slip to pay directly from your bank account, or go to the teller and then have someone do it for you. So usually I'll go in with my all of my invoice slips by myself at the bank machine and then make the payment. That day when I went in, the bank machine was not working. So I went into the branch to go talk to the teller so then they could help me to make the payment. And as they were going through, helping me making all of those payments because I had few bills to pay, then they were like, "Oh, did you know that you were actually pre-approved for a credit card, $1,000 limit?" And I was like, "Hmm, what is a credit card?" I had no clue. Essentially, what was a credit card? I'm like, "What is a credit card?" And so they're like, "Oh, a credit card essentially is that you can use it anytime that you may not have, the money to make a purchase, and then you can pay that back later." I'm like, okay, well that sounds good to me because essentially as an international student, I was 100% relying on my parents sending me money, and there were times that somehow they wouldn't send it on time or I wouldn't receive it on time, and sometimes money was tight. And so for me, I felt like it was actually a nice way for me to have a little bit of a bridge where I could use a credit card, and then when I get the money, pay back the credit card. But then one thing that they added that I think that really, I think that for me that was like the very bad advice and the worst advice, to be honest, was like essentially that person added. It was like, oh, when you get your statement, just look at the line where it says minimum payment, and make sure to pay that by the due date. So I was like, okay, perfect. So to me, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get a credit card, $1,000 limit. I'm gonna use it when I don't have, like money for my regular expenses. And when I get the statement, I just need to look at the minimum payment and make that payment by the due date. And then when I get, uh, you know, money final from my parents, then I can actually pay it. But one thing that I think was really did not work, especially with that advice, is like when you tell a student and someone that is already very tight with money, all you have to do is really making the minimum payment. To me, that was like, as long as I was making that payment, then I was good. And that's what I did with that credit card. And of course, as you can guess, it just didn't go well, right? Because I was making that minimum payment. Of course, I was still using the credit card. But at one point, I realized, wait a second, this this balance is just like ballooning and it's not coming down. What exactly is happening? Of course, I realized that a bit too late because unfortunately that card ended up going to collections. That's a story for another day. But I really realized that something was not working, right? Because I was really not making that much of payment. I was making the minimum payment and I was putting some extra money here and there. But clearly, somehow it was not enough to actually bring the balance down. And really, when now that when you think about it, you just realize, I personally realized it was a very bad advice. The reality is 35% of how your credit score is determined is your payment experience or your payment history. So when you read the definition for that, it usually says how good you are at paying your bills on time. But I think it should be how good you are of paying your bills on time in full. Because if you say just on time, well, I'm making my minimum payment on time, so it should be okay. But really, it's not. Because if you're only making minimum payment, chances are your balance will continue to grow. Interest will be applied to that balance and it will just continue to grow again and again. And that will not be good for your credit score. But if you paid in full each month, then you are good. That 35% will reflect well in your credit score and really help your credit score to increase. And when it comes to building wealth, it's important to know how the credit score is calculated. And so that big chunk of 35%, it's so important. And just telling someone the only thing that you have to do is the minimum payment on your credit card, it's a very bad advice. It should not be, nobody should be saying that to anyone. So I've learned from that. Today, I can proudly say that for each of my credit card, I make the payment in full each month by the time it is due. Of course, that requires also me being really mindful of my expenses, tracking my expenses, and making sure that I will have the money to pay it back. And the reason why, mainly because, first of all, I don't want to pay interest. 20% interest, I do not want to pay that. And second, I want to maintain and increase my credit score, which is very important when time is going to come for me to maybe go to the bank to because I need a loan that I might need for any investment which is going to be used to build my wealth. So that was it. To me, it was a very bad advice. So I don't know what you think about this. I'm curious to know, have you ever gotten the same advice? Or like what is the worst money advice you have gotten and how did you realize it was actually a bad advice? So that was it. In my next videos, I'll be talking more about credit card because I think it's important. It's so readily available to a lot of people, but at the same time, it's so misunderstood that unfortunately, a lot of people ruin their credit score and the credit history because of credit card, because of misuse of credit card. So there'll be more videos on credit card coming up. If this was of any value to you, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you are actually notified next time I'm putting a video out there. And do not forget to also put your comment down below and let me know what is the worst money advice that you have actually gotten and how you essentially realize it was a very bad one. Until next time, take care.